Being back here, living with my mother, I've thought a lot more about our relationship and how it's changed since I came out, and by extension, how my relationship with my father has changed too. It was obviously something that worried me greatly before coming out, so I think it's only natural that I delve a bit deeper into that. Everyone's parental dynamics are going to be different, but I think it's still worthwhile having a look at an example of what being a trans child can look like, and how that can change things. Hello my darlings, and welcome to my little corner of the internet where I demystify the trans experience through my own life and discoveries. Being a child, it can feel like you have a lot of responsibility towards your parents, biological or adoptive, or otherwise your primary caregivers. It's only normal to want their acceptance, their love, and it's very common to want to make them proud too. We generally love our parents, we want to maintain a good relationship with them and can even be dependent on them financially or otherwise, and this unfortunately can cause difficulties if we are trans. We can worry if we're going to be accepted, if our relationships are going to be worse off. I know I certainly did, and it made it a whole lot more difficult to come out. And I think if I had more examples of what that change in relationship could look like, I would have found coming out and dealing with that change a lot easier. So I'm going to do just that. Anyway, to start off with, I'll give a little bit of background that's relevant to both my parents. My parents divorced when I was very young, and my dad remarried when I was around 10, although my stepmom wasn't really present in actually raising me, so I won't be talking about her. I lived with both roughly equally until late into secondary school. For reasons that will become apparent, I later lived with my mum a lot more. They both lived and raised me in a small conservative town in the south of England, and neither had any openly queer family members before me. So queer topics was definitely something they weren't well versed in, as they didn't actively seek to understand different life experiences either. Despite this, both of them did accept me when I came out, and I do class that as a privilege, even if it shouldn't be one. Some of this acceptance I think is due to the fact that I came out when I was 26, so they couldn't exactly blame it on a phase or say I was too young to know. And although the way that someone feels about you shouldn't change the way they accept or respect your identity, I think the fact that I wasn't on hostile terms or argumentative with my parents helped them want to accept me too. And I think that mostly covers the basis, so on to the parents. I'll start off with my mum. She's always been the one I've been closest to and the one who's been the most supportive of me in most ways. Although she's never fully understood my struggles or my interests, she's always tried my best, and despite not always going about things the right way, what's always shined through is that she just wants me to be happy. And this is why she was the first family member that I came out to, despite her previous comments against the LGBTQ+ community. She was very much the "it's okay if it's in private" type. And whilst I understood that those comments were hurtful, they weren't coming from a place of hate. They were ultimately from a lack of experience and understanding. After I came out, she misgendered me every so often for quite a long time, but this was more due to the distance, me being the other side of the ocean, and infrequent communication. It was breaking a habit rather than being malicious. During this adaptation period, we clumsily figured out how to talk about my transition, what I was doing and how it was going, and then as I became more confident myself, it became easier talking as mother and daughter rather than mother and son, and that's where our relationship really started to change for the better. I'm far more open about my interests, what I'm doing, and ultimately she's really helped me to adapt to being perceived as a woman and unfortunately the sexism that comes with that. She's been there to console me when I felt undermined and patronized at work and when I've been harassed in the street, sharing her own experiences and how she's dealt with them. She has genuinely become one of my biggest advocates and way more open-minded. Although she's still a bit uneducated on queer spaces and especially queer issues, she still manages to enjoy shows like Heartstopper with me and no longer comments negatively on queer representation in media. She was also going to be there for the recovery of my bottom surgery, and she was there when I received the news of my postponement. Whilst I shut down, she was fighting for me, saying that I was one of the strongest people she knew, explaining all of the effort that I put in to be there, all of the difficulties I had overcome, and how she believed that the postponement would be even more damaging. We still do have some difficulties though. I still struggle to talk to her about politics as she struggles to understand my viewpoints on things. And she still also struggles to deal with conversations about my mental health and other certain things. However, we are closer than ever, and that has everything to do with me coming out and her finally getting to know the real me who was behind that mask that I used to wear. No parent is perfect, but I consider myself incredibly lucky to have her, and I've seen her grow alongside me as our relationship has become more authentic. And now, the other side of the coin. My father. My father was very vocally against me having long hair or doing anything that could be perceived as being feminine. To put it bluntly, he was a bully. After I cut my hair, he did treat me a little better, but it always felt like his love for me was conditional on me doing something that he perceived as good. I feel like he saw me as an extension of his identity, and so I was a threat to his masculinity if I didn't act within his expectations of what a man should be. This definitely affected my mental health and is one of the reasons that I started seeing him way less often. This also caused me to almost hide all of my interests except the ones that I knew he approved of, and I'd almost never talk about my emotions with him because I was afraid of him. But despite this, I still loved him and wanted his approval. I don't want to say it was all bad because it wasn't. I won't ever forget the times that I practiced football with him before matches and how he was there for me when I had my angry outbursts. I'm sure you can understand that because of that history, I was incredibly worried of coming out to him, and honestly, I was ready to be disowned. But to my surprise, I was actually accepted. He and my stepmom, from what they've told me, even went out of their way to educate themselves about trans people and how they could help me. Whilst that initial acceptance was really nice, the relationship remained tense on my side because of all that history we had. Then, as I grew more confident, I realized how much his past actions had contributed to my shame, my lack of self-esteem, and ultimately the delay in accepting my trans identity and self. After around half a year, it became clear that I would need to address him about his past actions if I was to move forward in the relationship, that I needed some acknowledgement of his hurtful actions. I wasn't expecting much, but at the very least some sort of recognition that in retrospect his attitudes and actions were harmful, even if at the time he thought he was doing the right thing. He was unable to do this. And whilst this isn't the only thing he's done, this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I couldn't move forward without any form of accountability, and so I cut contact. I haven't properly spoken to my father in about 2 years now, and I'm happier that way. I still sometimes feel cruel to have done that because it did hurt him, but at the same time I'd given him plenty of chances and I no longer want to play his games. In finding my own confidence and value in myself, I no longer need his approval or love. I'm not afraid of him anymore, and it really feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. And so we see that the relationships with my parents have changed drastically in different ways, but ultimately, I think they've both become way more authentic. With the confidence I gained from embracing myself and the value I found from being myself rather than what my parents expected, I was able to take actions to make those relationships work better for me. With my mum, I am closer than ever, and with my dad, I finally had the strength to tell him how I truly felt, and when I realized he wasn't ever going to be a person who genuinely supported me, I had the courage to take the appropriate action. I don't have any regrets other than not having done it sooner. We don't get to choose who raises us, but they don't really get to choose us either. It's a special form of relationship, but not one that's given for free. As we grow, both sides have to learn and adapt and not take it for granted. We, as children, don't owe them that relationship if they don't deserve it, but we do take on part of the responsibility of making it work. Although coming out will most likely change that relationship, it can be for the better, it can be for the worse, but ultimately, I think it will always make it more authentic. Ultimately, no one can ever have a true relationship with you if they never know who you really are. Welcome to the end of the video, and thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, feel free to give it a like, comment any questions you have below, and if you want more from me, feel free to hit that subscribe button and the bell because YouTube keeps on annoying me about it. If you do want to hear more from me, feel free to follow me on Blue Sky, but if not, I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!